welcome. Having Joey Himelfarb with "Don't Paint Your Kitchen," one of the latest additions to my LinkedIn books. And a little story. Joey and I think we first met. Have we? I think we met in real life a couple of times. I'm
No,
sure,
I've
right?
never met you in
No,
person.
we've never met in person.
No.
And that's kind of ironic because we're both in New Jersey, so that's
Mhm.
kind of something we have to do pretty soon.
Big
Uh,
state.
but I think the thing that I like so much about Joey in the book is it's very relatable. And we were actually talking right before the call about phone numbers. Nowadays it's funny. I don't even remember a lot of phone numbers. I just kind of put them in my phone and it goes directly to the contact information. But back in the day, we would have acronyms.
Yeah.
Like I was in Fairlawn, New Jersey, and it was Swarthmore SW6,
Yeah.
and you still know what they are. And if you were to say that to someone now, they would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Right. What year are you from?
And it's true. I mean, the thing is, it's like generations have to work together, and there's different mindsets, and sometimes they're very interested in understanding the differences. And I'm still learning too.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the "don't paint your kitchen" part, I can indirectly relate to because, and I think this is a Jewish thing as much as anything else. We are not very well endowed with how to put stuff together. We know very well how to call people up. We know what our limits are. I mean,
Right.
it's kind of and this is, I mean, I know what I can do. I can hammer a nail in the wall, probably. Um, I can probably figure out how to put something together, but I know when I'm out of my element, and
Right.
I'm sure you can. I think that's probably one of the things you're related to in terms of job search and networking.
Well, it's part of it, but the other reason the book is titled that is because I was trying to demonstrate what I've tried to do is demonstrate to job seekers, Ken, that looking for work is selling yourself, and
Okay.
salespeople need to be focused and disciplined. And when you're looking for a client or you're looking for a job, you need to maintain those traits, if you will. And don't paint your kitchen is my warning to job seekers to stay focused and keep your nose to the grindstone, because if you take the time to paint your kitchen, which doesn't involve rejection and doesn't involve pain, you're not looking for work. And if you're not looking for work and your competition is, the chances are great that they will get your job while you were painting your kitchen. And the problem with that, of course, is that you're out of the loop, and so you're not looking, and so you lose out on that opportunity. The problem with painting the kitchen is that after you paint the kitchen, now the dining room wants to be painted, and then the bedroom, and so 2 months later, you've painted your house. In 2 months, you can accomplish a lot in your job search, even if you're gainfully employed and you just want to better yourself in your company, for example, right? If you're not taking the steps to do that and you're losing your focus and not maintaining that discipline, is it going to be any wonder when you don't get that job or that promotion because you were painting your house? So that was the impetus, if you will, for the title of the book. It was
I would
just
love. I'd love to know where people are joining us from. We have Christine Dykman here from down the shore, um, and what I find most interesting about having conversations like this is um, knowing what your limits are. I remember the biggest hurdle I had as a job seeker in the beginning was trying to figure out what to do first.
right.
I got that call on a Friday afternoon, February 8th, 2008. I'll never forget it. Um, and they told me that you're gone that day. And
Did they
I
walk
was,
you out the door?
well, it was the thing. At 7:30 in the morning, I got to work.
Right.
And I'm thinking it's just a regular day, regular day. Then I get the call from my manager that says they want to see you in HR, and I hadn't even taken my coat off yet. I just gotten a cup of coffee,
Wow.
and I go down there, and of course I know what's going on right away.
Right.
But they didn't give me a chance to see anyone or anything,
Right.
and so it took me a while to really kind of figure that out, and it took me years until I actually wanted to actually reach out to people, but I never, for many years, I never used the services of that company. It took
Right.
me a long time.
Yeah. It's tough. It's a punch in the gut.
Right.
And I've spoken to many people who've been in situations like that, even worse. And some of them react really poorly to that, and others are like, you know what? one door closes, another one opens. I didn't like this job anyway. I didn't like this company. I didn't like my boss, whatever the case may be. They rationalized that decision like they did me a favor. Now I can collect unemployment. I can go find some jobs. So it depends on how you react, because it happens to a lot of people. I'm not going
Mhm.
to say everybody, but a lot of people have been, let go. And
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say that's why I was a full-time permanent job, and after that, I said I'm just going to do consulting.
Okay.
After that,
Great.
because part of it was like I just wanted to kind of have a little bit of control over things, but also after 2 years, I realized I couldn't do what I was doing before. So I used that time to try to better myself a little bit, and it took some time. I just want to do some shout outs here from people and
Sure.
others. Marty, of course. Good old Marty.
Morning.
I don't know if you know Mariola or not from the different
I
networking
do.
groups.
Yes, I do. Thank you for being here, Mariella.
Sarah Levine,
Oh, yeah. The whole gang is here.
Terry Seaman is here.
Oh, yes. Great to see everybody.
No, see what I mean? It's gonna be like a regular party. Carol
Yeah, well, that's
McCullough, this
good.
is way
Yeah.
too. And then I want to do some shouts for some of my other people.
Yeah.
Cindy Campbell from Boston,
Boston.
Rosemary Shapiro from
Well, just
Detroit,
met. Nice to see you, Rosemary. Thanks for coming.
Deanna Kritz from Chicago. And what I've tried to do with all these different conversations is I want to make them just discussions, because we were talking about before, people are PowerPointed out. People do not want to be taught. I mean, how many times have we been on a call where here's the PowerPoint presentation? And so when I started going in person, I just started talking. Really, it's like, let's just have a conversation, because I missed that interaction.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, Ken, before the pandemic, I've been presenting to unemployed professionals for years, and I would do it in churches or synagogues or libraries, wherever the case may be. And I was always asked, do you need the internet? Do you need a focus machine? Do you need a screen? I would say, nope, I just need a couple of magic markers, a whiteboard, or even an easel, if that. I said, I don't need any. I said, there's no presentation. I have 4 or 5 points I want to make, but it's not going to be a class. It's going to be a facilitated conversation, if you will. And mostly every presentation went off on tangents. I had the 4 or 5 points I wanted to make, and depending on what the crowd wanted to hear and what we wanted to talk about, off we went. It was like the Phil Donahue show every time I made these presentations, and it was great. And invariably, I'd always get people who'd say to me afterwards, the only thing I could have done to make this better was if we could spend more time with you, because you've got some great stuff, some great nuggets, some great advice. You're positive, you're upbeat, which is just what we need. This is a shot in the arm we need while we're looking for work. And, it's cathartic. It really is. It's a great feeling to be in front of a room and literally watch light bulbs go off over people's heads. And you've connected with them when they say things like, I never thought of that, right? What a great idea. So it just fueled the fire. So yeah, the PowerPoint, I only do it now because now I got to do Zooms. People want to see PowerPoint, right? So I feel like compelled to have to do it. I hate doing it, but you got to give the people what they want. But if I didn't have to use PowerPoint, that'd be fine with me.
Just a couple more Jersey shout outs. Judy Chanowitz, Dave Shuckman from PSG Mercer. I think for me, and this was the first pivot. When I started doing, everyone wants me to talk about LinkedIn, which I do. Right. But I always do it from the standpoint of, let's actually go through different people's profiles. Let's actually do things interactively. Right. I remember one of the first things I did is actually created a poll, and this was for the Rutgers New Start Career Network group, which is around, and they saw in real time people voting. I said, this is an example. Instead of being overwhelmed with all the stuff you have to remember, because it's so much easier that way. It also makes my life easier, to be honest, as a speaker.
In what respect, Ken?
Well, because I'm letting them drive the conversation. Right. For me, I'll do the things on Monday afternoon here in New Jersey for the New Jersey Job Seeker Group, and I'll open up a conversation. And I'll let the people chat amongst themselves and brainstorm. Right. Because they can relate in a different way than me.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would, whenever I made my presentations before, as people would be filing in, I would talk to a handful of them. Not everybody, a handful. How you doing? Are you looking for work? Are you in transition? How are you maintaining your sanity? Are you maintaining your sanity? Right. And then when we started, I now have a couple of friends in the audience. We're not buds, but at least I know who they are. I know where they're coming from. And so now I'm not talking to a room of complete strangers. I'm talking to a room of some strangers and some people that I know. And that eased it for me. Because let me tell you, even, I'm pretty good at this stuff and I can do this in my sleep, but I still get nervous and the butterflies still, fly around because I want to do well. And, people are spending their time and making the effort to be a part of a situation of a presentation like this. I don't want to mess up. And there's a little bit of nervousness that lasts about 35 seconds. And then once I'm in, then you can't stop me.
I think the thing for me is I've gone to some in-person networking events now, and I still dread going in for the first time. Most people don't realize how hard it is for me, but I've gone to events with people that I know. I still have one person with me, Donna Hook. I'm sure you know Donna Hook.
I know of her, yeah.
We actually went to an event in Ridgewood, and I asked her to come along, and I don't know if Nancy's still in the call. I'm doing a presentation for Nancy, who was part of a networking group there, Nancy Seaman. And I wanted Donna to come along just for some support, and it helped me out talking to other people.
Right.
And then we were talking on the way there, because she lives in town with me, about how it helped each other, because it got us out of the house. We were looking forward to it, but we were both afraid of what are we going to do? And we were freaking about everything from where we're going to park the car to where the place is, to all that stuff. And got to get out of your comfort zone.
And here's the thing. And so along those lines, Ken, part of the reason I wrote the book was because, like I said, I've been presenting to all these unemployed professionals all these years. And the reason I was doing it was because the first group I went to in Basking Ridge, I was there for many, many weeks, months, and became friendly with a lot of the people there. But some of them were like upset and unhappy and downright despondent, right? And I said to them, I said, you're not helping the cause here or yourself by being downtrodden and miserable. I says, you're not doing a good job of selling yourselves. And I as soon as I said that, I'm like, you know what? Let me be one of these speakers that comes into these groups, right? And take what I've learned about selling, because at that time I've been selling maybe 10 plus years or so. Believe me, I'm still learning every day, but I've learned that there's an art and a science to selling. And there's no reason why a job seeker can't make that extrapolation and start thinking of themselves as a salesperson. And so if for no other reason, and if nothing else, you as a job seeker, you've got to understand and know and believe that they don't care about you. Those hiring managers are busy. They're swamped. And they don't care who you are, what you are, how many wives you have, how many boyfriends you have, how many children, how many bills. They don't care. They don't care about it. All they care about is, what can you do for me starting today that I don't have? And so the emphasis is on them, not on you, right? You got to demonstrate an interest in them, and then maybe they'll be interested in you. Maybe. But if you come in touting your wares and talking about how great you are, that's okay, as long as you can put it in the terms that they can understand. Because as they're listening to you and watching you, this is what they're doing. In the back of the mind, they're going, why is this person telling me this information? How is this going to help me and my company on the job, right? It's important that you know that, because everything you say, because they're interviewing you, right? You're interviewing them, they're interviewing you. And everything you share with them, they're challenging in themselves to find out, so what? So what you did that? So what you did that? So what you did that, right? Can you do that over here? Your job as a salesperson is to be able to do that. And if you walk in with your tail between your legs, your chin on your chest, say, woe is me, the world owes me a job. If I was your hiring manager, next. That's not helping the cause, right?
Well, that's like on LinkedIn. I always say your profile has to be in a with them. What's in it for me from the other side? It's not writing. It's not regurgitating your resume. It's, why would I want to hire you? And those first 3 or 4 lines are a big part of it, because it's very counterintuitive when you're looking for a job to put yourself, but that's your marketing tool. And you bring up salespeople. Job seekers are salespeople.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the number of times I've said to someone, why don't you connect with someone? Why don't you do that? And the answer is because, and there's a roadblock. What's the worst thing that happens?
Right.
They don't get back to you. You're no worse off than you were before.
And that's why I say the successful salespeople don't have that attitude. They're like, next, who can I talk to next, right? They're not looking for excuses. They're looking for a paycheck, right? And they want to get paid, and they know that talking about but won't get them anywhere. Right?
Right.
I can't hear. I don't want to know from excuses. So when I talk to unemployed professionals as a coach, if you may, I pretend to be their sales leader, their sales manager. I don't tell them that, but that's how I pretend. And when they tell me things and they challenge me, my immediate reaction is like, "Why are you challenging me? Go out and do what you got to get done, because if you don't, somebody else will. In fact, somebody's doing it right now." As you and I have this conversation, somebody else is getting an interview at a job where you belong.
Yeah.
But you're
Absolutely.
here telling me about all these excuses as to why you shouldn't be doing this.
I
That's
mean,
me crazy.
the first, like the best person isn't always the most qualified person is not always the one that gets a job.
No,
I mean,
it's right. Yeah. But yeah, it's a challenge right now. It's easy for me as the coach to push people, but what I can't sugarcoat it. Right? It's not fair. It's not my job. I'm your friend. I always say that in my presentations. I'm your friend. I'm here to help you. Right? I'll be your Jiminy Cricket. I'll be your conscience, if you will. Right? Here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. Tweak this. Fix that. Right? And then let's go do this. Right? Don't just sit around. It's not 1950. They're not. No one's calling you. It's not 1950. I've read about this stuff. Right? They call you. You get flown across the country. You interview, they fly the family out, right? You set up roots, you stay with the company for 35 years. I have a friend from college. He's one of the only people I know who's been with the same company since he graduated from college. It's amazing to me. He's one of the few. God bless him. One of the few, right? It's a history lesson.
So I'd be curious if people have any questions or any comments they want to make. I mean, Joey and I could chat all day, and we probably will. And I think the most important thing I keep finding is job seekers are their own worst enemies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's little things. Alex Freund talks about smiling. Yeah. You got to smile, and sometimes you can even determine how your response. If you're on a phone call and you're not smiling, even when you're talking. And I used to get dressed up when I was having an interview on the phone. It didn't matter because I felt better about doing that.
I have a little blurb in my book about smiling. It's funny because when I wrote the book, Ken, my target audience was 3 individuals, teenagers / college kids, students, if you will, people that have been unceremoniously looking for work. Either they got laid off, they got downsized, whatever the case may be, or those people that have been out of work for many, many years because they've had to deal with a newborn or maybe a sick or not well family member, been out of work 10, 15 years. So those are my 3 targets, if you will. So the book, when I wrote it, was for job seekers. I've written it. It goes out. I'm getting reviews now on Amazon. And people are like, Joey, this isn't just job seeker. This is like a guidebook to leading a positive-minded life. This is for everybody. Well, okay. But you can't write for everybody, right? But it's a nice, for me, it's a nice, okay, I never thought of that, but yeah. So you talk about smiling. So that little blurb that I wrote about smiling in the book, I wrote it for job seekers. But you know what? If you breathe, it helps. It certainly helps to learn to smile.
So I love this comment from Nancy and a shout out. I'm going to be chatting with Nancy tomorrow.
Okay.
Excuses are self-doubt masked as procrastination.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
Yeah. I mean, there's 100 gazillion excuses out there. And for everyone that's out there, there's a coach saying, yeah, so what? Right? Go stop, right? Enough, right? Just like when I get challenged, I say this facetiously to people. When I give somebody advice and they say something like that won't work, or we don't do that here, or whatever the case may be, I always ask them to give me 6 numbers from 1 to 48. Because if they're so clairvoyant, I want to play the lottery tonight with the numbers that they've given me so that I don't have to work anymore. Okay? Because all of a sudden they're clairvoyant. They know what's not going to work before they even go out and try it. Right? It's crazy. Just crazy to me. Just go try it. Make that phone call. Write that letter. Do that research. Go meet somebody. Introduce yourself to somebody online, right? What have you got? To your point, Ken, what have you got to lose? You got nothing to lose.
It was interesting because right before this call, I mean, I do some volunteer coaching for SCORE, which is, an acronym for those of us who we work with other people. And there was a small business owner on the call, and we were chatting. and I kind of think I know enough about IT to get myself going. And
Mhm.
I was confused. And I said to the guy, "What do you do?
Right.
What do you do?" Now, I don't want to hear the bells and whistles of a process. It's like, what problem do you solve? And
Right.
there was that moment on his side, like, what do you mean? I'm like, I said, pretend I'm a fourth or fifth grader. And we've
Right.
said this before about elevator pitches. How would you explain this to fourth, fifth, or sixth grader? Because not everyone has that same level. And I think even when you're reading, going with family and friends during the holidays and they want to help you out, you got to make it understandable for them. I
Yeah.
could talk IT-ish all day and it would matter nothing, would not matter at all to them.
When I wrote my book, Ken, I promised myself, and I love to write, and I can write, and I can make you cry depending on how intent I am on what I want to write. I can make you laugh, and I can make you cry. But I promised myself not to use a thesaurus because I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to. I wanted my book to be conversational. I wanted to be that I could read it to a 6-year-old. I mean a sixth grader, right? I wanted an eighth grader to understand what I was writing about. And again, I'm getting great feedback because people are like, "This is it's like you're sitting there with me having a conversation, Joey." And for me, that's probably the greatest feedback. I'm pleased that I've hit the nail on the head with regards to that. And believe me, I'm never the smartest person in the room. I'm happy to say that. I never try to be the smartest person in the room. And a thesaurus is a wonderful thing, but not when you're writing a book like this, where you're trying to get to people's gut, if you will, right? And get to the
Right.
heart of the matter.
I know that just a couple of comments here. Smiling is my philosophy in life. You have to find something positive and fun,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
true. And I think someone actually shout out the Rosemary just bought your book.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Um,
Appreciate that.
I'm
So
gonna
we'll have to, Rosemary. We'll have to talk about that when you're done. Let's review it and give me your honest. Put your review on Amazon. But let's talk about. I'd be curious your take on the book. Thanks. Thank you.
I think like you bring up the not being the smartest man. I'm far from the smartest person too, and I'm the first willing to admit that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I think it's a generational thing. We would never go to work when we were in there saying, I don't know the answer to this, I don't know the answer to this, because the perception is you're stupid,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's okay. And so I'm okay not knowing all the answers.
Yeah.
Because
Ken, I talk about this in the book. I when I
yeah, I
graduated.
read your book. I read your book.
All right. So when I graduated from college, I realized how much I didn't know. It was mind-boggling how much I didn't know. And yet I met people who thought they knew everything because they had the degree. I'm like, how is this possible? Don't you realize what's out there? Don't you realize? And this was when the internet wasn't even a word yet, right? It's like there's so much information out there that we don't know about. How can you know it all? How is this possible? You're in your mid 20s. How do you know what? How do you have all the answers? I'm like, whatever. There's a lot I don't know.
I'm laughing like you because one of the reasons I went into IT was because of the whole boom with the internet. Because I was a writer, a newspaper reporter for many, many years,
Right.
and I wanted to take those skills. And in retrospect, I made a big mistake when I went into IT.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong area of IT,
Okay.
but you learn from that.
Yeah.
It paid the bills at the time.
Yeah.
So there's
It's
no complaint about that. But if I had to do it all over again, which I can't, I would have gone differently. But you learn from that,
right.
and it taught me a lot about myself. And
And job seekers, and I met a lot of these individuals who went down a path, they realized 15, 20, 25 years later it was the wrong path. Okay, time to get on a new path, right?
exactly.
Just move on, right? Let's close that door. Let's open up another one, right? And whatever you've learned, there's got to be something you can pull from those experiences that you can transfer somewhere else. Maybe not everything, but certainly some of it, right? And it's not a waste. It didn't work out. Okay, let's move on, right? Next, let's move on, right?
So so Terrence mentioned that not knowing is a vital skill.
Yeah.
So Cindy Campbell wanted to know how so. So Terrence, if you want to post another comment about that, we can have that discussion. I know one of the things I learned about myself going through the process is I learned what my strengths and weaknesses were, not from a technical standpoint, but from a person standpoint.
I teach unemployed professionals one of the first things you need to do before you start looking for work is to do a SWOT analysis on yourself, just like every company does, right? Figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, what opportunities lie before you, and what threats are around you. And not only should you do it, but those around you should do it for you as well, because
Mhm.
you're sitting in the forest and you can't see the trees, and others will have a different SWOT of you than you will, and that's okay. Get them all together, come up with one, and then let that be the place to start from. To your point, Ken, here's where you're good, here's where you need help, right? And use that information to guide your daily activities, because I'm gonna make something up, right? If you love cooking and baking, why do you want to study law? Right? Like they're two different opposite ends. Like, why you do, right? Or if you love the law and you love reading and you love debating, why are you going into graphic design? Right? Figure out where your strengths lie. Figure out where you need some assistance, and figure out where the opportunities are, so that you can make best use of what you're good at and what floats your boat. Right? And again, not rocket science, and maybe a lot easier said than done, but you got to do it. You just got to do it, right? Because otherwise you're just going to flounder, and you're going to take anything that comes your way, and then you're back where you started. You're
Yeah.
going down the wrong path initially when you should have known better, right?
And I think it's so important to have people in your network, not just friends and family, but other. We talk about whether it's a job, whether it's an accountability group or job seeker posse, whatever. Is people that can hold you accountable and
right.
will give you the tough love and vice versa.
Hmm.
Because the best advice I was given, which was really hard for me to take, was from someone was in the networking groups, and I was pissed at the time. But then after a while, I'm like, this person's right.
Yeah, the accountability is great. The having somebody, I think, who having somebody to bang off ideas with, and also make you accountable for what you said you were going to do, it comes from work, because we used to have that at work, right? When you worked with your colleagues, right? You had a deadline. We're all going to meet next week, and in the week that's coming, Billy, you take care of that. Susie, you take care of that. Gene, you take care of that. We're going to reconvene next Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and we're going to figure out what we've done. So now you got a deadline, right? Now Thursday comes around, 2 o'clock. You haven't done your work.
Hmm.
Shame on you, right? So having an accountability partner or partners in the job search is a great way to keep you in line, and a great way for you to keep your partners in line. It's a great symbiotic relationship, and
Hmm.
it certainly helps everybody.
So this is an answer to the question before
Yeah.
about the don't know part.
Hmm.
There'll be lots of unknowns in a volatile, uncertain, complicated, ambiguous environment. Yet you have to keep moving, navigating, and such requires a humble acceptance that you don't know, but you're going to figure it out.
Right. Yeah. It, if you think you know it, and you're going to go into a situation and you have all the wrong information, or you're not prepared, you're going to get your knees cut out from under you. Right. So that's a good point. Thanks, Terry. Yeah. You got to know what you don't know.
And part of it is you have to know about yourself. Not every job you get or interview is going to work out well. And
Right.
sometimes I've used those when I know it's not going well. When I was, looking, I would just take that as a learning experience. Got nothing to lose then. I
Right.
mean, because it's really all about making best use of things. And I remember the other thing the first networking group I went to was by a woman named Diane Young.
Hmm.
She had a group called the Unemployed Optimists in
Okay.
2008. And it was a group that met in her house,
Hmm.
and we went to a place, and she talked about every day just have one goal, attainable goal that you can make. Don't Your goal may be to get a job long term, but it's one thing at a time, one thing at a
Right.
time. And that was a group that was just a support group. It was not a group about job search tips. It was about people just getting it out of their system, which
Right.
sometimes you need,
Yeah.
but it brings up my next question to you. How many networking events are too many? Because I went to so many before, and I think part of it is the balance of picking the right ones to go to.
Right.
to
It's
make that
not.
take the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. You got to. It's quality over quantity, right? You got to go to. You got to go to a few to figure out which ones are worth your while and which ones are not. And there were some I went to that I stopped going to. They just it was too much. There were too many Debbie Downers and toxic Tonys floating around. I couldn't be around stuff like that. And but then there are others where like everybody's gung ho and it's like, yeah, this is why I want to be around these people, right? I want to be around people that are upbeat and positive, right? I want that stuff to rub off on me. And it's only so many hours in the day, right? It's just why would you? I say this all the time whenever I'm given a platform. Positive beats negative every day. I'm not going to tell you that being positive is going to get you positive results. I can't guarantee you that. I'm pretty sure negative ones will not.
I know
So,
one person we both really that cheers Brenda Miller cheers me up a lot.
right,
And I
right,
will never forget the first time I was so afraid to reach out to her in the beginning. The whole introverts thing. I take partner calls as you do too. She
yeah,
is the smile, the
yeah.
mindset. I mean, it's so important to the whole job search.
Right. And I think and that's what I try to do when I like I said, when I present to unemployed professionals. Again, and it is you don't have to be unemployed. I keep saying that, but even if you're gainfully employed and you want to move up in the company, wherever
Mhm.
you are, right? You gotta be positive. You gotta look for the positive side of the coin. There's always a positive. It may be difficult to find. You may have to struggle to get to it. You may have to dig a little bit deeper. You may cut your nails a little bit, but you know what? There's gotta be positive, right? It's gotta be good. And that should drive you. It's just I just I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm
No,
sorry.
I think the other thing that I really wish would happen more is I wish after people landed jobs, they'd come back to the groups. But there's almost a mindset, and I don't know if it's people once they get a job, they don't sometimes don't want to be associated with people that are unemployed for some reason, whether they're afraid it's going to jinx them or something else. I know they're busy. Believe me, I've been there, but it's also about sharing your knowledge so
Right.
people can learn from that. So I don't know if you come across that or not too, that
I
people
do. You're right. And we could probably, if we thought about it, think about over the last 2 years, people we've met who we no longer see, who are probably working now and they're busy, right? They
right.
have jobs, right? So it's hard for them to get out of work, quote unquote, at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon to enjoy this for an hour. They can watch the replay tonight, right?
Sure.
But there are many people who get job, and I'm just as guilty, right? Once I got a job, I was like, I forgot about LinkedIn, or just I wasn't on all these networking calls because I was busy. But you're right, Ken. There's a lot to be gained from people sharing their knowledge about, this is I did this, I didn't do that, I should have done this,
Hmm.
I wish I had done that, right? So, what do you call it? We call it postmortem, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
That's and David brings up a good point here. It's not the quantity, it's the right fit.
right,
And it's almost like you can go to different groups and try them out. And if they're not okay for you, that's okay too. I miss the in-person networking a lot. I
yeah,
miss going to groups in person because you can't quantify seeing the same as seeing people and talking to people. Um, and groups are now starting to come back little by little.
right,
Um, it's hard to get going, but the first time you go, it's so much better.
yeah.
And you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone with whatever you do. You have no control over some things, but you got to be willing to try things.
Yeah, I just again, I'm gonna beat a dead horse. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee if you go out there that anything good will happen. There's no guarantee. I guarantee you don't go out, ain't nothing gonna happen. you, you just got to take a chance. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, that's an aha moment for a lot of people.
Right.
I'll even say on LinkedIn, connect with someone you want to know, connect with someone higher up.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? They're not going to report you to the etiquette police or something like
Right.
that.
I can tell you, Ken, from my own personal experience, several jobs that I landed were because somebody introduced me to somebody who introduced me to somebody that the initial person who I knew and I did not know the hiring manager. It was only because this connection of this, the 6 degrees of separation, we had a common link somewhere down the road. And in several instances, I met somebody who I never would have met if I didn't take a chance and talk to somebody and let them know that I was looking for work. And I'm not saying it's going to work all the time, But imagine if I didn't ask these people or didn't let them know I was looking for work, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I couldn't be sharing these stories.
So again, and this is a common thing I hear a lot too. People get interviews but very few offers.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about ghosting. That's the whole thing about follow up. And you and I have both been in that situation before. It's an up and down thing. Um, One of the things that's why I say come to events like this, go to networking events. Sometimes you have no control over it. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
Um,
So to Cindy, if I was with Cindy, I would say to Cindy, so Cindy, let's see. So it's hard to not be discouraged. Okay, you get interviews, but little offers. So what does that mean? So you're not going to go on any more interviews? That's it? You're just going to stop? You can't do that, right? You got to keep plugging along, because one day you're going to crack through and you're going to get not only an interview, but you're going to get the offer. But if you don't continue, you're not going to get the offer. So we don't have a choice. Again, easy for me to say from over here.
Me too.
Somebody
Yeah.
like you, right? But what should I say? You're right, Cindy. You know more offers are coming, so you know what? Stay home. Who would tell you? What friend would tell you that, right? What friend in the right conscience of mind would say to you, "Yeah, you should just stay home. Don't worry. Somebody will find you. Just relax. Make sure you're not on the phone, right? Because they're going to call you, right?" No, it's a different world.
I mean, and again, the whole idea of applications online.
Oh.
I mean,
Hey.
I mean, yes, you have to apply online. Yes, you have to send a resume, but that doesn't stop you from trying to network in to find out more about the job. It's not it's, I mean, you do, if you want a job at company A, you want to do some research. I said this yesterday in my group, Monday. I just want to let you know that that's hard. So I mean, just to clarify, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not dumping anyone.
Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't picking on you, Cindy. I was pretending we were in a room and
But
we're having this conversation. Yeah.
what I said to the people yesterday on the call is I said, you were interested in a job at company A. Look up the company on LinkedIn. Look up people at the company there that you want to connect with. Don't just wait to hear, because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you could get a rejection after 15 minutes from an automated system, but that doesn't mean you can't be considered for the job.
Right.
Because one hand sometimes doesn't know what the other hand's doing.
Back in the day, remember when LinkedIn groups was the thing?
Yeah.
Remember? I used to tell people, go into the groups, find a group that is attractive to you. Like if you're into stamp collecting or, I don't know, kayaking, right? Something that has nothing to do with work. Find a group that has something to do with your vocation or hobby that you would enjoy, right? And just get involved and listen and watch and look at the conversations. Maybe inject a comment every now and then. Maybe start a conversation. You might meet somebody because of a common interest in stamp collecting. And you
did you know I collected stamps?
I did not. There you go. Right. So I did not know that. So if I like to collect stamps and I'm looking for work, but I'm not telling anybody in the stamp collecting group, I just want to meet somebody who collects stamps. And you and I meet and we start having fun talking about the stamps that we've collected. And we say, let's go out for coffee, whatever. I'll bring you my collection. You bring your collection. I'll bring mine. We'll look at them. And we're sitting down at Dunkin' Donuts looking at our stamps. And out of the blue, you say, so Joey, what do you do? Oh, I'm looking for work, Ken. Oh, really? What do you do? Well, I'm an accountant. Oh, we're looking for an accountant in my company. Let's get you in, right? Countless stories like that have occurred across time and space because somebody looked in a group that had nothing to do with their job, but had something to do with their hobby, something that they enjoy doing. And they made a connection with a human being, and they totally bypassed the ATS, the tracking system. And their friend, Ken, handed their resume to the hiring manager and said, talk to Joey. I met this guy. Him and I collect stamps. He's the best. We got to hire him.
So just to clarify, because to bring up what I'm saying is, you apply for company A, you apply online. So you go to company A on LinkedIn, you do a search, or you do a search under people at the company. Company A, these are the employees, and maybe you break it out further by industry. And maybe after that, it's a second connection, let's say. So you
Yeah.
can go one or two ways. You can reach out to the second connection. You can still personalize the invite,
Mhm.
um, and then follow up, or you can find a first connection. I
Yeah.
have a large network. I
Yeah.
may know someone there. You never know who knows someone else, and don't be afraid to ask,
Hmm.
because I'm happy to do what I can. I don't know where it's going to go, but sometimes people in your network, they may be able to help you. But again, this is the job seeker mindset. You cannot be afraid to ask.
You
You
don't know
cannot.
who knows who.
Exactly.
Everybody you know knows 250 people you don't know, right? David Mills asked, does LinkedIn have non-work related groups? Yes,
Yes, they
absolutely.
do.
Absolutely. There are groups that your alumni and anybody who's gone to college, even high school, those groups, those organizations have alumni banks,
We
right?
found a group on
You,
hiking, backpacking, and trekking.
yeah, pick your poison, right? So if you went to a particular college or a high school, go find somebody from that institution. Make a connection there. You already have something in common before you even reach out. Your brothers and sisters before you even start. Who knows who they know? You don't know.
And
It's
now, and
crazy.
with sports, look, there's so
Oh,
many ways you can. I
oh my God.
mean, I didn't have a horse in the race for the series. I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. One of the first groups I joined on LinkedIn was a Boston Red Sox fan group.
Hmm.
Um, it was funny because we called it, the group was called Fenway Refugees,
Okay.
because it was from anyone from, and I made some great connections. Now, what I did as part of that group is I connected with Luis Tiant, a famous pitcher
Okay.
from the
Sure.
Red Sox,
Yeah.
just on a hunch. It was a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But I think that part of job search can be fun like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be drudgery. Sometimes if you do things like that, it may help you too.
And to your point, so if you find something that lifts your spirits, guess what that does? Right? Puts a smile on your face. Guess what that does? Maybe builds up your confidence. Guess what that does? Makes you go out and try different things, try different tactics, reach out to new people, right? The possibilities are endless as opposed to sitting at home, assuming the fetal position and sucking your thumb.
If you're having a bad day, my advice, I did this in 2008. I started writing a diary, a journal
Yeah.
every day, and I put it down on paper. I got it out of my system. And years later, I read it back. So if you really have to get your thoughts down, rather than sending an email which you're going to regret or something like that, just sit down one day and get it out of your system. You'll feel better at the moment, and it's not doing any harm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just there are so many ways you can. There's so many things you can do to get out of the doldrums, to get out of your funk, but you got to do it. Right. You're not 3 years old. You're an adult. You gotta pick yourself up by the bootstraps. And let me tell you something. I'm just as guilty. I have bad days. Trust me. I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm not this way 24/7. Right. I have my moments, but I can't count on anybody to get me out of these moments. It's up to me. And I do my best. Sometimes I do it well, sometimes not so well. People around me will remind me of that. But I don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. All I'm saying is that if I do this enough, if I make enough connections, who knows what'll happen? The possibilities are endless.
Absolutely. I think part of it, and I have my bad days too. We
Yeah.
all do. I mean, we're smiling here for an hour and we'll smile for a little while, but then something's going to happen. Life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it's so important. And Joey, I love the outlook. And I want, are you going to be speaking at other events or any other places you want to? Because you might as well shout those out to people now because you have an opportunity.
I've got a presentation Thursday night with Marty Latman's group, the Strategic Network, Strategic Entrepreneurs, I think it is. It's New Jersey Sang. I've got a presentation the following week at the Princeton Library for the
Ah,
PSG of Mercer County. I just got slotted in. There was a cancellation. They said, Joey, you available? I said, sign me up. So I'm doing that. Next month, I'm going to be at Jewish Family Services in Somerville. Again, this is all virtual.
right.
Princeton, I may be there in person. I don't know yet. Haven't figured that out. But I've got another one with Marty in January. Um, yeah, I mean, this is I'm loving it. I'm loving getting the message out. I'm
Hmm.
loving having the opportunity to meet with people who are either not necessarily struggling, but are just challenged with what's going on around them. And if I can, for an hour and change, boost them up, pump them up, make them feel better about themselves, I've done my duty,
So
right?
I think I'm pretty sure most of these events that you alluded to are available on live.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think I know that I started out doing a lot of events as well, and I love to pay it forward. And now, for me, it's so enjoyable to be able to share with other people because I think it's so important to acknowledge that. I mean, I'm always looking for people, and we've had job search. We've had a job search discussion on LinkedIn Live with people in transition, and I'm going to probably be doing that again. So Sarah Levine has just given you an option to come to one of her Wednesday sharing supports. I
Okay.
mean, so after the call, I mean, if anyone wants to chat, we'll be looking at the comments and things. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Joey, you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
This has been a pleasure. The time has
Yeah.
gone by so quickly.
I know, it always does. Sorry. I could do this all day, Ken.
So you and I have a to do. We have to get together in person now.
Yes, we do now. Yes, we do.
Sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. Okay.
And so have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Take care. Bye.